Imagine this, one pregnancy, one mother, but two babies developing at the same time. How is that even possible? Do two sperm enter the same egg? Does one embryo somehow split into two? And why do some twins look almost identical, while others can look completely different? The answer lies in one of the most fascinating events in human reproduction. Today, let's find out exactly how twins are formed.
Welcome to the Primer. Your journey to academic excellence starts here.
Normally, human reproduction begins when one sperm fertilizes one egg, forming a single fertilized egg called a zygote. That zygote begins dividing again and again, eventually developing into an embryo and later into a baby. But sometimes something different happens. The result can be twins, two babies from the same pregnancy. And there are two main types of ways this can happen. So there are two types of twins. One is called identical twins or monozygotic twins, and second is called fraternal twins or dizygotic twins. Let's understand both. First, let's look at identical twins, scientifically known as monozygotic twins. Etymologically, the term is derived from mono, meaning one, and zygotic, meaning from a zygote. So the term monozygotic twins combine Greek roots to mean derived from a single fertilized egg cell. Here's what happens. A single sperm fertilizes a single egg. So initially there is just one zygote. The zygote begins dividing normally, but at a very early stage of development, developing embryo splits into two separate embryonic groups. Each group then continues developing into a baby independently. So one fertilized egg ultimately gives rise to two babies. That's why they are called identical twins, because they originate from the same fertilized egg. They have almost the same genetic information. They are usually the same sex, both boys and both girls, and often have similar physical features such as similar eye color, hair color, and facial features. For example, imagine you take one photograph and make an exact duplicate of it. You now have two copies from the same original. Identical twins are somewhat similar to that idea, although of course real biology is much more complex. And here's something important. Identical twins are not produced because two sperm fertilized one egg. In fact, that would normally not produce healthy development. Identical twins generally begin with one sperm, one egg, and one zygote. Now let's look at the second type, fraternal twins, also called dizygotic twins. Etymologically, the term is derived from di, meaning two, and zygotic, meaning from a zygote. So the term dizygotic twins combine Greek roots to mean derived from two fertilized egg cells. Now this process is different. Sometimes during the same menstrual cycle, the ovaries release two eggs instead of one. Now imagine that two different sperm fertilize those two eggs. We therefore have two eggs and two sperm, so two zygotes. Each zygote develops into its own embryo and eventually into its own baby. These are fraternal twins because they come from two separate fertilization events. Fraternal twins are genetically similar in much the same way as ordinary brothers and sisters. They can be the same sex or different sexes. For example, one pair could be a boy and a girl. Another pair could be two boys or two girls, and they don't necessarily look alike. So if identical twins are like two copies made from the same original, fraternal twins are more like two siblings who happen to develop during the same pregnancy. But here's where it gets really interesting. Two babies in one pregnancy doesn't always mean the same thing. The way twins form can also affect how they share the placenta and the membranes surrounding them. And this is one reason why doctors carefully monitor twin pregnancies. So let's quickly look at what happens inside the womb. After fertilization and early development, twins continue growing inside the uterus. Depending on when an identical embryo splits, the babies may share some structures or have separate ones. For example, some identical twins may have separate placentas and separate amniotic sacs, while others may share a placenta. In some cases, they can even share the same amniotic sac. Fraternal twins, on the other hand, usually develop from two separate fertilized eggs and generally have separate amniotic sacs and separate placentas. Although the placentas can sometimes appear fused because they are growing close together. This is why doctors use ultrasound scans to examine the babies, their placentas, and their membranes. And there's another fascinating fact. The exact reason why an identical embryo splits is not fully understood yet. Unlike fraternal twinning, which can be influenced by factors such as maternal age, family history, and fertility treatments like IVF, identical twinning generally occurs randomly. So, in many cases, identical twins are simply one of nature's remarkable surprises. So let's make it really simple. There are two major types of twins. Identical twins, one egg, one sperm gives rise to one zygote, then the embryo splits and two babies continue developing independently. Fraternal twins, on the other hand, two eggs and two sperm gives rise to two zygotes, then two embryos continue developing independently into two babies. Identical twins are genetically very similar because they originate from the same fertilized egg. Fraternal twins are genetically similar like ordinary siblings because they develop from two separate eggs and two separate sperm. And that's how a single pregnancy can result in two completely separate little lives developing side by side. So the next time you see a pair of twins, remember their story began with something incredibly tiny, an egg, a sperm, and the remarkable process of early embryonic development. And biology has turned that microscopic beginning into two human beings. If you enjoy discovering the science behind the twins, like this video and subscribe to the primer for more fascinating science and biology explained in a simple way. And tell me in the comments, would you like to learn how conjoined twins are formed? I will see you in the next video. Keep learning and keep exploring the science of life. Thank you so much for listening to me.